Remember, Trump, as you have seen him do all year long, he acts like a madman when this stuff comes up. He will do anything, no matter how bad it makes him look. Even if he has to turn to his own base and say, if you don't believe that this stuff is all a Biden, Obama, Hillary, Comey hoax, you're an idiot, and I don't want your support. That's what he's told his own supporters. So Donald Trump is scared to death about this Epstein stuff. So none of these emails released today provide any kind of definitive proof that Trump took part in any kind of sex trafficking. They raise questions about his knowledge of what was going on. They raise questions about his proximity to the activities of Epstein and Maxwell, what he knew, when he knew it, and why he never reported it. There are no smoking guns in what was released today. There's no proof that Trump did anything wrong yet, but there are strong suggestions in the materials released today that Trump knew things about Epstein and that Epstein knew things about Trump that could hurt Trump. Criminal things. Now, in 2011, we have the entry of a woman in Florida named Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi becomes the Florida Attorney General. She does not pursue any further actions against Epstein or his associates. What she did do, though, was in 2013, Trump University up in New York was in big trouble under fraud investigation. He gets in big trouble, has to pay out money in New York. Well, down in Florida, citizens of Florida who had also been duped and robbed or defrauded by Trump, they were trying to get Florida to do the same thing New York did. But what does Trump do? Trump gives Pam Bondi a $25,000 campaign donation. And for some reason, Pam Bondi decides to decline all of the demands from her own constituents in Florida to pursue charges against Trump University. Screw these victims. You say, well, the Trump Foundation giving money to Pam Bondi, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with it is that it was illegal. In fact, he had to pay the IRS a huge penalty for improper political donation. It was a bribe is what it was. So he ends up in 2016, gets elected president of the United States, of course, with massive financial support from elite Zionist donors like billionaires Sheldon and Miriam Adelson, people like them. Immediately appoints Alex Acosta as his Secretary of Labor, which pisses off Epstein's victims, rightfully so. Just 24 days into his administration, his national security advisor, Michael Flynn, registered Democrat, gets in big trouble. He's forced to resign because he lied to Vice President Mike Pence and he perjured himself to the FBI about his secret negotiations with Russia trying to prevent the United Nations resolution condemning illegal Israeli settlement building. May 9th, 2017, Donald Trump does something pretty radical. He fires the FBI director, James Comey. Why did he do that? Because James Comey had agreed to sit down to dinner at Trump's request, and Trump asked him to play ball. He asked him to drop the FBI investigation into Mike Flynn. Why would Trump care about that? I'll tell you why. Because Mike Flynn was operating on behalf of the government of Israel, and he was offering to relieve sanctions on Russia in exchange for their pro-Israel vote at the UN. So Comey says, no, I'm sorry. I'm not going to end the investigation into him, so Trump fired him. Robert Mueller gets appointed as special prosecutor to investigate this whole Russiagate thing. Was there foreign election interference on behalf of the Trump campaign in 2016? Didn't find a whole lot from Russia. Not a whole lot there. But you know what they did find that they didn't make a big deal about, but I've got a copy of the Mueller report. What they found was that Israel, or at least private intelligence companies from Israel, including Psy Group and Black Cube, did play a role in illegal election interference. Do they go after Israel for this? No. Isn't it crazy how no matter what happens, whether it's Israeli spy Michael Pollard, the USS Liberty going back to the Johnson days, no matter what Israel does to harm the United States of America and its people, our politicians always do whatever is in the interest of Israel over what is in the interest of the American people. That's exactly what's going on right now with these Epstein files. That's the main reason that there's so much pressure on Trump to not release them. maybe there is absolutely nothing in there that would show that Donald Trump himself personally did anything sexually inappropriate with any of these children. I accept that as a very real possibility. I'm open to the idea that he did do something, but my concern more than anything else is that it's clear that this was a Mossad operation, and Donald Trump is covering up for Israel. That is it. That's the elephant in the room. July 6, 2019. That's when Epstein is arrested at Teterboro Airport. And who gets appointed as one of the prosecutors on Epstein's sex trafficking case? A person named Maureen Comey, the daughter of James Comey. Just weeks after that is when Alex Acosta resigned as the labor secretary. Following month, August 2019, Epstein dies under disputed circumstances in prison. Trump's Attorney General, former CIA agent Bob Barr, personally visits the prison to investigate the matter. Funny, isn't it, how the lawyers close to Trump always end up going in to personally investigate on behalf of their boss what's going on. Barr's father, you may remember, was a former OSS agent. The predecessor of the CIA was the OSS. Bob Barr's dad was Donald Barr. He had been in the OSS, then he ends up as the headmaster at Dalton Academy when the completely uneducated, unqualified Jeff Epstein is given a job there as a teacher. August 2019, following Epstein's death, Maureen Comey, she transitions to focusing not on Epstein, but going after his associates, main one being Ghislaine Maxwell. December 2019, the U.S. House of Representatives impeaches President Trump. To defend himself in the Senate trial, that Senate impeachment trial, Trump hires who? Out of all the lawyers in America, who does he hire? He hires Jeff Epstein's lawyers. He brings in Alan Dershowitz. He brings in Kenneth Starr. And you know who else he brought to serve on that team with Epstein's lawyers? Pam Bondi. So you've got Pam Bondi, Alan Dershowitz, Ken Starr working together on behalf of Trump. In 2020, Ghislaine Maxwell is arrested. Maureen Comey is appointed to lead that prosecution against Ghislaine Maxwell. July 21st, at a White House briefing, reporters asked Trump about Ghislaine Maxwell. Hey, there's this child sex trafficker named Ghislaine Maxwell that you spent years partying with. She was at your wedding, remember? What do you think about her being arrested? I just wish her well, frankly. Wait a second, what did that guy just say? Did the President of the United States just wish a notorious child sex trafficker wish her well? Let's clarify. So in an Axios interview the following month, he was asked again, you said this thing about wishing her well. Yeah, I wish her well. He repeated it. December 29th, 2021, New York jury finds Ghislaine Maxwell guilty on 5 out of 6 counts of sex trafficking a minor, conspiracy, transporting a minor with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity, and she is sentenced, in June, to 20 years in federal prison. Jump forward to June 2024. You got Donald Trump on the campaign trail, and he's asked about the Epstein files. Hey, we hear the FBI has got over 100,000 pages of documents about Jeff Epstein. If you are reelected, what will you do? And Trump says he would release the files. September 2024, Lex Friedman is interviewing him, asks him about releasing the Epstein files. How do you feel about that? Donald Trump told Lex Friedman he would have no problem releasing the files. January 2025, here we are. We're starting to catch up to present day. Trump takes office in January, and who does he appoint as his Secretary of Commerce? Howard Lutnick. Who is Howard Lutnick? Jeff Epstein's next door neighbor. Literally. Epstein in this townhouse, Lutnick in the one on the other side of the wall. He appoints Pam Bondi, the woman who worked with Dershowitz and Starr, the woman who took a bribe down in Florida to turn against her own constituents and not go after Trump University, the woman who served with Epstein's attorneys to defend Donald Trump, is appointed the U.S. Attorney General. Then you get these nitwits, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, appointed as director and deputy director of the FBI. All along, they were talking about, oh yeah, we're part of you, MAGA. We're going to get those files. We're going to release them. We're never going to give up on this. Save the children. February 21st of this year, Attorney General Bondi tells Fox News that the Epstein client list is, quote, sitting on my desk right now. She said she was going to review the files and then release them. Also in February, Patel and Bongino, they promise any Epstein hidden records are going to be uncovered and we're going to give them to the American people. Then an order comes from the White House, the Department of Justice, the Attorney General's office, the FBI. These are all part of the Department of Justice. Pam Bondi is given some instructions before you go releasing any of this stuff. See if Trump's name is in there. And so she orders a team of over 1,000 personnel comb through the Epstein files before anything is released. We now know that in March, Bondi went back to Trump and said, guess what? Your name is everywhere in these files. What does he do? He goes and he says, all right, Pam, I'm going to give you a deputy attorney general who is loyal to me. I know because he was my personal attorney in my criminal trial in New York, Todd Blanche. And so you have Trump's personal attorney, Pam Bondi, linked with the Zionists and with the Epstein gang as our, head of the Department of Justice, our attorney general. Her deputy is Trump's personal attorney who represented him in a criminal trial. Do you really think that Bondi and Todd Blanche are going to administer justice in a neutral way? Or do you think they're there to do what their boss tells them to do, which is to protect him and his associates at all costs? May 19th, 2025. Here comes old Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. They sit down and they say, you know what? There's no evidence that Jeff Epstein was killed by any other person. Everything says he killed himself. There's no evidence to the contrary. Anyone who suggests anything otherwise is a conspiracy theorist. Now, July 9th, we've got Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu flying into Washington, D.C. to pressure Trump to attack Iran, which of course we know Trump did. And you know what gift they gave Netanyahu? They had Pam Bondi go out and announce that the Department of Justice, their review of the 100,000 or so pages of the Epstein files, found no evidence of any wrongdoing by anybody other than Jeff Epstein alone. That's it. There's no blackmail list. There's no names there of anyone else who has done anything wrong. There's no correspondence that suggests there might be any other co-conspirators out there. And she said, basically, she didn't say it in these words, but she basically said, that a couple months ago when I was talking about that list on my desk, it doesn't actually exist. When I said the list was on my desk, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean what I said. So there is an eruption of fury within the MAGA circle online. Good job. Good job. You should be outraged. So Trump tries to get control of this backlash by repeatedly claiming that the Epstein files are a hoax. They were I mean, how can he even say this with a straight face? I get it. Trump can say anything with a straight face. How can his supporters repeat this with a straight face? The 100,000 pages of Epstein files, including all of these emails that have the, all the source code and everything, they were written by Barack Obama, by Hillary Clinton, by Biden, and by James Comey. And anyone, including his supporters, who believes otherwise are weak. He told you, MAGA, if you don't believe that Obama wrote the Epstein files, you are weak. Are you weak? Did you vote for Trump? Are you weak? You are weak, according to Donald Trump. If you believe that there is truth, that there are legitimate records about Jeff Epstein and his activities. He said he doesn't want your support if you believe that they're real. He said that. I'm not making it up. July 15th, that is the day that Thomas Massie and Kana introduced bipartisan petition to force a vote to release the Epstein files. The very next day, what did Trump do? The very next day, what did he do? Trump has the Justice Department hire Maureen Comey. Was Comey going after Trump? No. Who was Comey going after? Ghislaine Maxwell. Donald Trump had the number one person in the world going after Ghislaine Maxwell, got her fired. A couple weeks later, the Republican-led U.S. House Oversight Committee, they voted 8-2. The Republican-controlled Oversight Committee voted 8-2 to subpoena Ghislaine Maxwell. Come haul her ass in front of Congress and make her testify under oath to what she knew about all this. And on that same day, Republican-led Government Operations Committee also voted to subpoena Maxwell to testify to Congress. And you know what their vote was? It was unanimous. You now have the U.S. House of Representatives, two different committees, voting to subpoena Maxwell. What does Trump do? He has Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, who is a Christian Zionist and a total Trump bootlicker, has him recess Congress for the summer early. And Johnson admitted on camera that the reason he was recessing early was to shut down the efforts to pull Maxwell in front of Congress and give Trump space to handle the situation. And how did Trump handle it? July 24th, he dispatched his own personal attorney, Todd Blanche, to meet privately with Ghislaine Maxwell. Unprecedented move. Utter, on its face, corrupt, conflict of interest. Indefensible. He gives her immunity from prosecution for any statement that she makes. Now, this is Donald Trump. This is the guy who represented Donald Trump in a criminal trial in New York. What do you think they're saying in private? You think it might have something like, you know, that guy that keeps wishing you well, that guy who knows that you've got a mountain of dirt on him, that guy who knows everything that you saw him do? What do you think about getting some little perks, like how about we move you to a better, cushier prison? How about, I don't know, let's say we'll not do it yet, but what about maybe a pardon where you don't have to serve your 20-year sentence? And if you don't think that Donald Trump will pardon sex traffickers, have you been watching the news? Have you not seen the last month? So what does Ghislaine Maxwell do? She tells Todd Blanche, she's like, oh yeah, I'll put it on tape. He's got it, he records. I never saw Trump do anything. He was a perfect gentleman. And then we start to hear rumors leaking from the White House that Trump was considering giving a pardon to Maxwell. Maxwell's own lawyer on July 25th suggested it, and when Trump was asked about it, he said, it's not the time. He didn't say, no, I'm not going to pardon that convicted child sex trafficker. He said, not yet. He'll pardon her before it's over. Guaranteed. So what else does he do for her? He transfers her to from a low security prison in Tallahassee to a minimum security camp in Texas. Special treatment for a convicted sex trafficker. Why would you do that? Why would you do a favor for a convicted sex trafficker who just gave a statement saying, oh yeah, Donald Trump's a great guy, he's a perfect gentleman? What if this had been Barack Obama who did it? What if Barack Obama had been in office, MAGA, and someone who everyone knows was involved in child sex trafficking, probably has got some serious dirt on Obama and his involvement? What if Obama sent his personal criminal attorney to go meet with that sex trafficker, sends a box of goodies, transfers the sex trafficker into a better facility, and says, when asked, are you going to pardon this person? and your answer is not yet, MAGA, are you telling me that you would say, oh, yeah, this is totally normal? Of course not. You would be up in arms, and rightly so. Now, it should come as no surprise that Trump is in full-blown panic mode right now. He can't stop the Democrats from, he can't flip them and get them to take their names off the petition. But what he's spent the day doing is everything he can to try and pressure the couple of Republicans who have signed onto this petition, trying to get them to take their names off it. I mean, can you imagine this? Think about this. This is the U.S. president trying to strong-arm members of his own party to get them to stop trying to get files released that would show the American public more information about the biggest sex trafficking operation in U.S. history. How can you be against that? What is the rationale for Trump supporters? The only thing you can do is to buy into that, you parrot that stupid line about how, oh, well, there's nothing of value in it because it's all a Democrat hoax. Obama wrote the files. Comey wrote the files. Most Trump supporters are not going to say that because they know how damn stupid it is. So he's been going after signatories. He's not going to bother with Thomas Massie. Massey's loving this, and he should. And kudos to Thomas Massie for leading the charge on this. But he went after Lauren Boebert, a staunch supporter of Trump. Had her come sit down in the Situation Room with Trump's enforcers in the DOJ. Sit down with Pam Bondi, sit down with Todd Blanche, sit down with Kash Patel, trying to pressure her to take her name off the petition. Fortunately, she stood firm. Likewise, Trump has been trying to get one of the other Republicans who has signed this petition calling for a full House vote, Representative Nancy Mace. He's been trying to get her. Now, she ghosted him for most of the day. She sent a text message to Donald Trump directly. And she released a statement saying, I will never abandon other survivors. What does she mean by that? She herself has a personal history with sex assault and domestic violence. When she was 14 years old, her coach at school had a friend who molested her. So she's saying, no, I am not going to, on behalf of other girls who have gone through what I have been through, they deserve justice, they deserve transparency, and I will not betray them. There is going to be a vote next week, full House vote, to release the files. Doesn't mean the files will be immediately released. They won't be. But there will be a full House vote trying to compel the Department of Justice to release all of the files that they have. Now, when you've got Bondi with her history with Epstein's lawyers, when you've got Trump surrounded by, people doing his bidding, when you have Todd Blanche, when you've got people who used to be MAGA faithful, like Patel and Bongino, flip-flopping and now towing the line and gaslighting their own people that got them where they are. You cannot rely on this corrupt Department of Justice to, one, to give all of the documents to begin with, or two, to give them in a way that is useful, because they could just go through and black everything out, redact everything. So there's still a long way to go, but this is progress. This is crazy, brazen corruption, all designed to either protect Trump personally or to protect someone or something more powerful than Trump, like a network that maybe has dirt on him. Or it could be both. But it can't be neither. Trump would not go to this degree, throw his own supporters under the bus, do all of these things that on their face are corrupt, like sending his own attorney to go talk privately with Maxwell and then giving her these perks. He would not be doing this if there wasn't something very big and significant that he is afraid of. And that is the exact thing that we need to be made aware of as American citizens. Because if it turns out that he has had something to do with child rape, we need to get him the hell out of office. Set that aside. If the problem is that he is aware that there is a foreign government like Israel that has a spy network that is using child rape as a way to get blackmail on powerful people to try and control our government, which is basically what we assume the Epstein operation was, we need to know that. So whether it's to find out if Trump did it or if it's to find out who Trump is protecting and why, this needs to happen. So don't let it go.